Hello guys, today we are going to discuss about density based outlier detection method. Those who are watching for the first time, please like, share and subscribe my channel. Let's go into the topic now. So what is meant by density based outlier detection means? So we have seen in the last two videos, we have seen about what is meant by distance based and the statistical based approach. This is the third method for the outlier detection. Previous methods, we will assume the data which are in the uniform manner. If we have distributed our data in the uniform manner, how we can find out the outliers. But they may have the data which are of different density distributions will be there. So how we are going to choose the outliers from the different density distributions. So if you see this particular diagram here, so these are the data points which are differently, that means the density of the distribution of these data points are different from these data points here. So here these are completely nearer to each other, but here if you observe these are very, that means some distance is there between the data points. So we can find out this one as the cluster 1 and this one as the cluster 2 here. Surrounding these two clusters, again we are having the two objects are there, that is the O1 and the O2 here. So these two objects, neither they belong to the cluster 1 and nor they belong to the cluster 2 here. And in the density based outlier detection, we are having the local outliers are there. What is this local outliers here? So if the outlying relative to its local neighborhood, particularly with respect to the density of the distribution. Suppose let's consider the O2 and local outlier with respect to the cluster 2 here. O1 is also an outlier. Why? Because those two O1 and O2 both they are going to lie outside from the clusters, cluster 1 and the cluster 2. So none of the objects in the C1 are treated as the outliers here. So consider the degree to which an object is an outlier here. So what is that local outlier factor? What is this local outlier factor? It will the degree at which it will depends on how much isolated the object is there with respect to its surroundings. With respect to its surroundings, how much isolated your object is, that we can consider as a local outlier factor. That we can consider as a local outlier factor. And next one is the density based outlier detection. That is, if you take the k distance of an object p is the maximal distance that p is nothing but the object here. P gets from its k nearest neighbors, that is the distance of p comma o will be considered here. And there are at least k objects in the data set D which are close or closer to the p than the object O. There are at most k minus 1 objects that are closer to the P than O. So these two conditions will be considered here, and these two are the empirical equations for the P object P based upon the k distance. And the k distance neighborhood, it will contains every object whose distance is not greater than the minimum points of k, that is the distance of P. It is the distance of P here. So always a particular point P object distance, it should not be greater than the minimum points of K. And the reachability distance of an object P with respect to the object O is defined as the reachability distance of P comma O is equal to maximum of minimum points of distance O comma, and the distance of P comma O will be considered as the reachability distance of a particular point P with respect to the object O. And density based outlier detection, we are having the local reachability density of P and the local outlier factor is there. What is that local reachability density of P? It is nothing but the inverse of the average reachability density based upon the minimum nearest neighbors of the P value. The inverse values of the average reachability density of the minimum points of the nearest neighbors of the P can be considered as the local reachability density. And the local outlier factor of P captures the degree to which we call the P as an outlier. How much probability is there that we can consider the point P as an outlier here. That is called as the local outlier factor. Next one is the deviation based outlier detection. So we will discuss this deviation based outlier detection in the next upcoming videos. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching the video.